Hello and thank you for joining me. I'm Heather Forgan of stampwithnellie.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the UK. And I am heading to OnStage in Rotterdam. And by the time you see this, it'll be all over and done with. But this is my swap that I am taking with me. Love doing swaps. So the idea is you take a bunch of identical gifts, cards, whatever, and you swap them and you come back with lots of lovely inspiration from your fellow demonstrators. So this is my one using the A Little Latte suite. Used the designer series paper. I've also used the Brights designer series paper for my mug. Hello there, let's catch up. This one's on me and I've got a little coffee bag in there. So I like to try and keep my swaps quite simple, so there's no cutting other than, just the initial cutting of my A4 sheet. So I've used staples on here, bit of a cheat, but it's nice strong hold for travelling with, and they don't take up too much room in my suitcase. So I've made a few and I've prepped a few more, and I thought I would share my process with you. So I've already cut down these pieces of pecan pie and early espresso card. So these measure 5 3/4 by 8 1/4. So the width of an A4, but just trimmed down to 5 3/4. Okay, so I've done all of that. I've also cut all of the pieces of designer series paper for the front. So I have this little caddy here that I'm using. So I've cut designer series paper to go with the pecan pie card, and then I've got bits to stamp for the inside, and I've also cut the pieces to do the mug and my little sentiment on the front, and then I've cut bits of ribbon. So I've done the same with Real Red from the Regals, and that's the embellishments that I'm using. So just good old-fashioned rhinestones. So I'll bring this lot out, and I'm going to use one of the early espresso. Okay, and then so what I would do is cut all of the original pieces, and then I would do all of the stamping, all of the die cutting, and then assemble them. Okay, so I have so I need to do the scoring as well. Okay, so simply scored in there. Kind of difficult to see with the dark brown card on the dark background here, but I am going to score this along the long side, so the 8 1/4. It's actually just over 8 1/4, but we'll round down. So 3 1/4, 3 1/2, and then 6 3/4. Okay, so that's all I need to do on those. So I would just quickly just do a whole bunch of these ready to take them to the next stage. Okay, 3 will do. I'm not going to do them all for you. That would be a little bit boring. Okay, so that done. Just a quick fold and burnish along those lines. And I've just put that extra score line in so it's kind of flat on the front. It will bevel at the back, but I am not bothered about that. It was just so that these could, the actual construction of them could be quick and easy, and then it means that I can spend a little bit more time on the decoration. Okay, so quickly staple with the most ancient stapler you've probably ever seen. I suspect it might have come from a certain police station at some point. My father was a police officer. And yeah, these things happen, you know. So, because I'm using real red, I've decided to go with real red ribbon for this one. So that will just get a little bit of tearing tape on there, and then that goes over there. But we need to do the stamping and the heat embossing, and I am going to use my Stamparatus for that. Okay, so Stampin' Up no longer sell the Stamparatus, but you can buy other stamping platforms that you can do something similar with. So I die cut one of the small deckled rectangles, and that's going to be my sentiment for the front of the package. And I've already mounted up the "Hello there, let's catch up." So pop my other die cuts into the hole left by that one, and hey presto, we've got one. I can just pop the next one in, ink that up, bring that down. If I haven't quite got it right, I can ink it again and try again. So that makes doing multiple sentiments super, super quick. And it's a trick that I use for swaps, for my personal Christmas cards, thank you cards, all sorts of things. Okay, so that's that one there. Then we've got stamping to do for the inside. And you'll get all the measurements for these pieces in my blog post. There'll be a link to that in the description for this video. Okay, so I then want to stamp my mug in the same colour. And that's just going to go on there, and I'm going to try and make sure I don't get that ink on me. Ordinarily I would clean it, but I'm trying to show you fairly quickly. So I'm done with that plate. I'm going to take that out so that I can clean it. Don't have to take it out to clean it, but it makes it a little bit easier. And then just straighten that back up where it should be. I've got Pecan Pie ink pad for my coffee and my other sentiment. This one's on me. So I would do all of those. Okay, so just bish bash bosh with those. And then I did have some of these smaller stamps set up on my Stamparatus, but then I thought it was actually just easier to just stamp them individually. So I've got, let me bring in Early Espresso with this and just stamp some extra detail on this piece here. Okay, I don't think I inked that up very well. There we go. Like that. Early Espresso for the little coffee beans. Like that. And I've got these coffee rings. Like so. And that's my stamping done. Actually, I think I'm going to go for another one down here, like that. That's my stamping done for the inside. And so the other bit of stamping that I need to do is now heat embossing for the mug and also the steam that comes from that mug. So let me tidy this up and I'll show you the next stage. Okay, so now want to do the stamping of the mug, and as I mentioned, that is heat embossing, so we need Versamark ink for this. And just make sure you've got plenty of that on there. Versamark's a nice sticky ink. And I'm going with Dotty. There we go. And then I've got a piece of scrap paper here I'm going to use to contain my black heat embossing powder. Like that. Just make sure you've got it all covered. And again, I would do batches of this so that I'm stamping a few, I'm adding the powder to them, and then I'm heat setting them. And then once I've done my next batch, I would then die cut them all. Okay, so again, just doing piecemeal. So the other bit that I've got on here, don't know if you've noticed, is this little bit of steam coming up from my mug, and then I've also got the coffee from the mug. So I've already die cut those little bits there as well. So I need to do my steam as well. So I've used white embossing powder on vellum for that, and just did a quick bit of fussy cutting on that. So we need to do that for this one too. Okay, so I have that particular stamp here. And because it's photopolymer, I normally like to use my Stampin' Pierce mat. Press that down. You don't want to press down too hard, because then you the lines kind of merge together and you lose the detail on that. So another piece of scrap paper. And this time I am using white embossing powder. And I've just realised I've messed up that black one. This is why I do things separately. Okay, so there we have that. So I've already done a few on there, but let's just show you the full process of that. Still a little bit of paper on there. Right, so let's get the heat tool on and get those set. So you just want to check that all of that powder has gone nice and glossy and it's ready to go. Okay, so as I say, that one needs to be die cut. That will just sit over there like so. I can die cut that. But I do need to fussy cut this. And I don't have to be too fussy about my fussy cutting, to be honest. Because the bottom part of it will be hidden. So it's just a couple of nice clean curves like that. And as I say, I don't need to even bother about the bottom of that. So that's that bit done. Let me just die cut that and be back with you in a second. So as well as die cutting that mug, I've also die cut quite a few of these little ovals that are my coffee, and they will be glued onto the mug there with this little bit of steam, a little bit of glue on the bottom of that, pop that on there, and then that one will go on top. So I've finished that mug. I will go on and do the other mugs in the set, same set, once I've finished doing this video. And now it's just a case of putting these pieces together. And this is a fun part where all your hard work pays off and you actually have an end product to show. Okay, so a little bit of tearing tape in the middle there. Take the backing of that off. Then I've got my ribbon. Now I've cut mine to the length of 18 inches. And then that means that I have enough to go all the way around and tie in a little bow at the side. Or if time's against me, it may well end up being a knot. So my designer series paper goes on top over that ribbon. Hold that nice and neatly in place. Now I want to make sure that my ribbon's flat. And then that has a little border round about it. So this was 5.5 inches by 3 inches, as is this piece here that will go on the inside. That was the piece that we stamped. In there. My little coffee bag will go in that little pouch at the side there. I will also put a little leaflet with a link to my blog post and this video with a QR code in there, because that makes life so much easier. And then that is just going to go on the top. In the middle, a little bit of steam rising out the top there, and then my sentiments. So I've not used any dimensionals, just simply because I am obviously travelling to Rotterdam. I'm going by aeroplane. I have got checked baggage, but that's more for the return because I don't know what goodies I'll come back with. So the last bit is to add on some rhinestones. And these rhinestones come in 3 different sizes. So I kind of mix and match some of those on there. As I say, that will get tied into a bow once I've put that little bit of detail, little printed slip on the inside. And then I can trim those down and possibly seal the end so it doesn't fray as well. So my original one here with a neutral ribbon, and then this one with the colour coordinated ribbon. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope that everyone that receives these swaps from me in Rotterdam will love them. And I cannot wait to share what I get in return. So that will probably be my next video. Please do like and subscribe and pop back to see what I get in return for these lovely little coffee gifts. Until then, please do take care. Bye bye.